Okay, so imagine this scenario. You're just out living your life, right? Doing the most mundane thing you can think of.
Like a grocery run.
Exactly. You're on a grocery run, you've got your bags, you're maybe thinking about, I don't know, what to cook for dinner or whether you remember to buy milk.
Yeah, just normal life stuff.
You are definitely not looking for profound philosophy. You're looking for your keys. And then you happen to look up.
Ah,
And suddenly, you aren't just looking at a building, you are looking at an argument. You are looking at this massive, concrete statement about how we're all supposed to live.
it's funny how often architecture just kind of ambushes us in those quiet moments, isn't it?
It really is.
We tend to think of architectural criticism as something that happens in, universities or art galleries.
Right, with people in black turtlenecks using very long words.
Exactly. But the best critiques, the most poignant ones, they often come from the sidewalk, from the actual user experience of just existing in a city.
Exactly. And that is precisely what we're diving into today. We're looking at modern city living, but through a very specific, and I'd say slightly unusual set of eyes.
The software plumber.
The self-described software plumber. So it's a deep dive that starts with this simple observation on the street, and it ends up questioning the entire nature of high-concept design.
It's such a great perspective.
Yeah.
And the specific design philosophy we're going to unpack today has this very impressive, almost utopian name,
Yeah.
Organic Modernism,
Ooh.
or as it's sometimes called in the field, contemporary biophilic design.
Organic modernism. I have to say that sounds fancy. It sounds expensive.
It does.
It sounds like something I'd pay extra for at a grocery store without even knowing why. You know, like, yes, I'd like the organic modernism. Please hold the pesticides.
It does have that ring to it, doesn't it? It sounds benevolent.
Totally. Very friendly.
But, and this is the key thing, as we're going to see, there's a distinct tension hidden right inside that pretty name. The source material for today is a really interesting blog post from qianmeng.org. Specifically, a post titled Notes on Photography, Part 226, The Cost of Organic Modernism Architectural Style. And this was published just yesterday, January 18th, 2026.
And I love the persona of the author here. He signs off as Ang, and like I said, describes himself as an old software plumber.
Right.
So we aren't getting a critique from an Architectural Digest editor. We aren't getting someone obsessed with trends. We are getting a critique from someone who builds systems, who fixes things.
Someone who makes sure the pipes, whether they're literal or digital, actually connect.
Yes.
Which is such a crucial perspective, because when a plumber, someone focused on utility and flow and debugging, looks at a building, they aren't just looking at the silhouette against the sunset.
Yeah.
They're asking, does this actually work? Is the code clean or is it buggy?
So what is our mission today?
Our mission is to unpack the specific design elements of this style, to understand why it exists in the first place, because it is everywhere right now, and then really examine the costs that our software plumber identified.
Yeah.
We're going to explore whether humanizing a building actually makes it better for the humans inside it.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with the observation itself. So Aang is out on this grocery run, you know, everyday life stuff, and he spots a condominium.
Uh-huh.
But it's not just any condo. He describes the balcony design as strikingly peculiar.
Peculiar. That is such a polite but loaded word there.
It is, isn't it?
It usually means interesting to look at, but I would not want to be the one to fix it.
It is. And thanks to the source, we know exactly what makes it peculiar. We are talking about fluid, curved elements.
Okay.
The text mentions that these curves are specifically designed to mimic natural phenomena like wind or clouds.
And that mimicry is the whole core of biophilic design. The idea is that we as human beings have this innate connection to nature.
Sure.
We evolved in forests, savannas, near rivers. We didn't evolve in concrete boxes. So when you look at a traditional skyscraper, what do you see?
You see a grid, boxes stacked on boxes. You see like an Excel spreadsheet made out of glass and steel.
Exactly. You see rigid monotony. You see, as the author puts it, harsh 90-degree angles.
Yeah.
And those angles don't really exist in nature. Trees don't grow in perfect squares. Clouds are not cubes. So the intent of organic modernism is to disrupt that grid. It's trying to break the visual tyranny of the straight line.
Which honestly sounds great on paper. I mean, who wouldn't want their apartment building to look like a cloud?
Right.
It sounds whimsical. It sounds soft. It sounds like it would make the city feel less aggressive.
And that is the psychological intent. It offers a stark contrast to standard urban development. It's meant to humanize the structure.
Ah.
The architect is essentially saying, I am going to take this massive pile of steel and concrete, and make it feel like it's flowing, like it's alive.
Oh.
It's a reaction to, say, the brutalism of the past or that cold modernism of the 2000s.
It's like the building is trying to give you a hug, or at least wave at you gently like the wind. Visually, according to the source, it's quite unique, and I can picture it. You're walking down a street of gray boxes, and suddenly there's this undulating, wave-like structure. It grabs your attention. It probably looks amazing on Instagram.
It absolutely does. It succeeds as a visual object. It
Yeah.
succeeds as public sculpture. But here's where it gets really interesting, and here's where our software plumber steps in.
Okay.
Because while the architect is looking at the building from the outside, thinking about wind and clouds, someone has to live inside it.
And that is the pivot. This is where the rubber meets the road, or I guess where the sofa meets the wall. Because Aang, with his old software plumber mindset, he spots the flaw immediately. And it's not a structural flaw. The building isn't going to fall down. It's a flaw in furniture.
The furniture problem. It sounds so trivial. Oh, no, my couch doesn't fit. But it is actually a profound failure of design empathy. It's a failure to understand the user requirements.
So here's the issue from the text. You have these beautiful, fluid, curved balconies. They look like clouds from the street. But what happens when you try to put a table and chairs out there?
Well, let's think about the furniture industry for a second. Think about every table, chair, bench, or planter box you've ever bought.
Right.
Think about the logistics of shipping and manufacturing. What is the defining characteristic of their footprint?
They're rectangles. They're squares. They have those harsh 90-degree angles.
Precisely.
Yeah.
We mass-produce life in rectangles. It's just the most efficient way to cut wood, to pack boxes, to ship containers.
Yeah.
So Aang points out that standard rectangular furniture rarely sits flush within these irregular curved spaces.
I'm just visualizing this now. You move into this expensive, high-concept apartment. You buy a nice patio table. You try to push it into the corner of your balcony to maximize space, but there is no corner.
There is no corner.
The wall just curves away from you. You have this awkward wedge-shaped gap behind the chair.
That gap is the cost the author is talking about. It results in what he calls wasted square footage.
It's dead space.
Total dead space. You can't stand there. You can't put anything there. It just collects dust and maybe a few dead leaves, but it has zero utility.
And in a city, square footage is gold. You are paying for every single inch of that floor. It's like buying a pizza, but the outer 2 inches are made of cardboard. You paid for the size, but you can't eat it.
That's a great analogy.
Wow.
And that's the irony our software plumber highlights. The design is described as needlessly expensive.
Right.
You're paying a premium for the complexity of the curve, for the unique aesthetic, but you're also paying for space that you cannot effectively use.
It's functionally inefficient. That's the verdict.
And that phrase, functionally inefficient, that cuts deep when you think about who's saying it. Remember, this is a software plumber.
Right.
In software, efficiency is everything. If you write code that looks elegant on the screen, maybe you format it in a cool wave pattern, but it runs slowly and uses up twice the memory, that's just bad code.
It creates a clog. It slows the whole system down.
Exactly. And here, the clog is that you can't fit your breakfast table on the balcony without it looking ridiculous.
Yeah.
In software, we'd call this a breaking change. The building, the hardware, has updated its OS to Organic Modernism 2.0, but the furniture, the software, is still running on standard Rectangle 1.0. They're just incompatible.
It really highlights the difference between looking at a building and living in a building.
Totally.
The person on the sidewalk gets the benefit of the cool cloud aesthetic. They get the visual treat. The person paying the mortgage gets the headache of trying to furnish a cloud.
And this brings us to the synthesis of the argument, which the author states very, very clearly. We're witnessing a classic example of the tension between form and function.
The age-old battle, form versus function. It feels like this has been going on since the first person carved a handle onto a stone axe.
It's the eternal struggle of design. So the form, the organic modernism style is, as the text admits, undoubtedly aesthetically pleasing. It looks good.
Sure.
It breaks the monotony. It makes for a great photo on an architectural blog. No one is arguing that it's ugly.
But the function, that's where it fails the grocery run test.
Right. The author notes that the practical utility of the living space has been sacrificed. And notice that word, sacrificed.
Yeah, that's a strong word.
It implies a choice. The designers prioritize the visual metaphor of the wind over the practical reality of the resident. They chose the sculpture over the living room.
I want to talk a bit more about the source of this critique because I think it adds so much weight. We said Aang is a software plumber, but looking at his blog, qianmeng.org, this person is a serious tinkerer,
Oh, absolutely.
This isn't just someone who complains, this is someone who engages with systems. The range of topics on the blog is wild.
It really is, but there's a thread connecting them all.
I'm looking at the list here. We have notes on photography, obviously, but also notes on gardening, notes on fish keeping, notes on dieting.
And don't forget the technical stuff. Notes on Haskell programming, notes on Python, notes on Rust.
Right, so this is someone who switches between coding these complex functional programming languages like Haskell, which is all logic and purity, to figuring out how to keep fish alive, to growing plants.
And what do all of those things have in common? Gardening, fish keeping, programming.
They're all systems.
They're all systems. They're all about variables, constraints, optimization. If you design a fish tank that looks beautiful, maybe it has crazy loops and narrow tubes, but it makes it impossible to clean the algae or change the water, the fish die.
The system fails.
The system fails. And if you write code that looks poetic, but it doesn't compile, it's useless.
Right.
A Haskell programmer specifically deals with pure functions. They're obsessed with logic and avoiding side effects. So when a mind like that, a mind trained to spot inefficiencies in aquariums and algorithms, looks at a balcony, they don't see whimsy.
They see a bug.
They see a bug.
Ticket number 402, balcony incompatible with table object.
Precisely. The furniture mismatch is a bug in the code of the building. And unlike software, you can't just release a patch for a concrete balcony.
No.
You can't just push an update over the air and straighten the walls. You are stuck with that bug for 50 years.
It's interesting that the author also mentions notes on gardening, because biophilic design claims to be about nature, right? It mimics wind and clouds.
It does.
But I wonder if a gardener, someone who actually deals with nature, not just the image of nature, would look at those curves and say, actually, this is harder?
There is a very likely connection. I mean, think about a planter box. Most are rectangular. If you're trying to maximize sunlight for your plants or fit a rectangular planter along a railing, a curved railing is a nightmare.
Right.
It creates gaps where pots can fall or just waste space. You can't clamp things on easily.
So the nature-inspired design might actually be hostile to actual nature, like a potted plant.
And that is the ultimate irony. The organic building makes it harder to grow organic things. It values the symbol of nature, the curve, over the reality of nature, the plant in the pot. It's a simulation.
It connects back to what the author said about the intent to humanize the structure. What does that even mean, to humanize a building? Usually we think that means making it more comfortable, more welcoming.
Right. But in this case, humanizing seems to mean making it look less like a machine. It's a visual definition of humanity, not an experiential one.
Okay.
The architect thinks humans are organic beings, we're soft, we curve, so I will give them curves.
But humans are also tool users.
Exactly. That is our defining trait. We use tools. And our tools, our furniture, our appliances, our books, they function in a world of gravity and geometry. We sit on flat surfaces. We eat off flat tables.
We sleep on rectangular mattresses.
Yes. So by trying to look like a cloud, the building actually becomes less accommodating to the human inside it. It forces the human to adapt to the building, rather than the building adapting to the human.
Which is the opposite of good plumbing, to bring it back to the author's profession. Good plumbing is invisible. It works so well you don't even notice it. You only notice plumbing when it's bad.
Correct. And this architecture screams, look at me, while you're just trying to drink your coffee and not knock your shin on a table leg that doesn't fit the space. It demands your attention.
It's needlessly expensive vanity. That's the takeaway I'm getting here.
And expensive not just in money, but in utility. The text explicitly says, you are paying for space you cannot effectively use. In the housing market, where affordability is always an issue,
Oh, wait.
paying for sculptural air, paying for that empty wedge behind the sofa is a luxury that maybe we should question.
It really makes you look at the city differently. I mean, we all complain about boring, boxy apartments. We call them cookie cutter.
Sure, they have no soul.
Exactly. But maybe there is a reason the cookie cutter is that shape.
The grid exists for a reason. The 90-degree angle exists for a reason. It's the most efficient way to pack space and utility together. It might be rigid monotony, as the text describes, but it's a monotony that allows you to fit a couch, a TV, and a dining table without needing a custom carpenter to build you a banana-shaped desk.
So are we defending the boring box? Is that what we're saying? No more art, just give us containers.
I don't think we're defending boredom, but I think we're defending utility. Or at least we're aligning with the software plumber in saying that if you're going to break the box, if you're going to disrupt the grid, you need a better reason than just, it looks cool from the street.
Right.
The form has to follow the function, or at the very least not actively fight against it.
It's about honesty in design. If you build a sculpture, call it a sculpture, put it in a park. If you build a home, make sure I can put a chair in it.
Precisely.
Hmm.
It comes down to what we call affordance
Yeah.
in design theory. A flat wall affords you the ability to push a bookshelf against it. A curved wall removes that affordance. It takes away your options.
Hmm.
And when a home takes away your options, it feels smaller, no matter how much square footage you actually bought.
I just love how this one blog post, this one note on photography spirals out into everything from furniture logistics to the philosophy of nature. And it all started because Aang went to get groceries.
That's the beauty of this deep dive approach, right? The world is full of these signals if you're paying attention. A balcony isn't just a balcony. It's a decision. It's a trade-off someone made on your behalf, often years before you ever walked in the door.
It makes me wonder what other bugs are hiding in our cities. We just walk past them every day.
Oh, the city is full of legacy code and technical debt. Once you start looking with that plumber mindset, you can't stop seeing it. Sidewalks that don't drain, doors that open the wrong way, bus stops that provide zero shade.
So let's wrap up this deep dive into organic modernism and the furniture problem with a bit of a recap for everyone listening.
Okay. We've got a style organic modernism that uses fluid, curved elements to mimic nature, specifically things like wind and clouds.
And its goal is to disrupt the rigid grid of the city, to humanize the structure.
But, as our sharp-eyed software plumber pointed out, this aesthetic victory comes with a massive practical failure,
Standard rectangular furniture simply does not fit in curved spaces.
leading to wasted square footage, functional inefficiency, and needless expense. It's a classic case where the visual story of the building clashes with the lived reality of the resident.
The hardware, the building rejects the software, the furniture.
Yep.
So here is what I want you, the listener, to do next time you are walking through your city, or maybe you're scrolling through listings for a new apartment. Don't just look at the buildings. Imagine living in them.
Ask yourself the grocery run question. If you came home with bags of groceries and a new patio chair from IKEA, would that building make your life easier, or would it make it a geometry puzzle?
Is the design for you, the person paying the rent, or is it for the person driving by at 40 miles per hour who just thinks, wow, that building looks like a wave?
And that raises a final kind of provocative thought to leave you with. If humanizing a structure, making it look all organic and soft, requires sacrificing the actual utility for the humans living inside it, is it actually good design?
Or is it just a very, very expensive piece of public sculpture that people happen to sleep in? That is the question. Form, function, or just expensive clouds? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Always a pleasure. Keep looking up, keep questioning the curves, and check your furniture dimensions.
See you next time.